Hello everyone, it's me Jenny and this is another anime update, surprisingly. And this time I will be talking about Gurren Lagann, or Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. It's a very complicated title, I probably mispronounced it absolutely horribly, but there's nothing I can do about that really. And this was chosen for the SourceFedNerd anime club, and I did watch it in time to get my review up. I think it was on the borderline. I think I finished on the Wednesday or Thursday, so it wouldn't have really had much of a chance of being featured, but I still did finish it almost on time. But then I discovered that my sister was also watching it, so I didn't really want to upload my review in case I accidentally spoiled her, or in case she had any input that would be useful for my review. And so then I went on to watch a couple more animes and the entire fairy tale, linked to that video somewhere on screen. And I kind of forgot about it a little bit, which is rather sad. So I've rewatched a couple of episodes and time to do my review. And my quick review for this was enjoyable. It's a very silly, incredibly over-the-top anime. If you're looking for subtlety, this is not the anime for you. It's very much about a hero's journey, specifically a man's journey. It's all about being a man, you know, using the power of manliness to achieve goals, which I'm assuming is the human race, because it does seem to be more about the energy and resourcefulness of creative species rather than just simply a gender issue, particularly as we've got some very cool female characters in this, particularly Nia and Yoko, who are badass in their own very, very different but very cool ways. There's a lot of stuff in this anime that I really, really like. The fact that it's constantly building, and it starts in a really massive, ginormous, over-the-top world, and yet manages to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and by the time you get to the end of the series you're like, what? How enormous is this thing? How giant is this story getting? It's getting a little bit ridiculous, and you start thinking it's a little bit ridiculous. There's a lot of things in this that are very anime specific. There's some definitely weird things, like a tiny little I think he's a pig mole, who is adorable and kind of sort of talks, and at one point rips off his own tail to provide substance, because he's, you know, the best friend sidekick sort of character. And it's slightly weird, but it's kind of adorable. Definitely, if you're not really very aware of anime as a genre, this probably wouldn't be your best starting point unless you have a very, very open mind. Similarly, if you're looking for subtlety in terms of character design or character concepts, probably not a good place to start. Things like Yoko's breasts are very jiggly, and if you're not used to anime boobs, probably not a great place to start. But I do like with her character that she definitely owns both her appearance and her character. I think, you know, it feels like her character would choose to wear that outfit. She does choose to wear that outfit. It's something that's not restrictive. She deliberately changes so she can do what she needs to do things, whether or not it's climbing a tree or, you know, wielding a giant gun. She feels like she owns that, and things like when Simon is directly on her cleavage, she doesn't like, get off me, it's, here there, oh well, let's move on to the next fight. Nia's very different, but she's also a badass in her own unique way. This is the third anime that I've watched now, which has kind of given me the concept that girls with silver hair in anime should not be trusted because there is something slightly creepy, either genetic experiments or computer technology going on, probably a combination of both, so beware of girls with silver hair. But she's very, very cool and a very nice, interesting character in her own right. Basically, the characters are likeable. As I said, the art style has very little subtlety, it's very sharp, angular, it's very high contrast. There's not really, you wouldn't get anything that's particularly beautiful. There's some jaw-dropping moments, particularly the first bit when they come out and see the surface. That's a gorgeous shot, but it's not pretty. It's very, very high contrast. You'll get a lot of black on colour or colour on colour. There isn't really any smooth lines. So it is, I think, very much aimed at a more male demographic. That being said, it was very enjoyable for me. I think the female characters definitely do boister it a bit. There's a lot of things that I just generally really like about this. It has a very similar art style to Kill la Kill, obviously, because it's made by the same creators. There's a lot of visual themes that carry across from that anime, particularly the use of faces. Faces are everywhere in this, from the buildings to the weaponry, You can't really go for more than a couple of shots without an inanimate object having a face to it. It feels very much like everything's being watched in a very interesting way. I love the concept of the spiral races versus the anti-spiral races, the kind of the square, rigid set versus the spiral, because I think it's the Fibonacci spiral, or the golden spiral, which is mathematically, I believe that the spiral of a snail is equivalent to the spiral of the Milky Way / spiral of possibly the universe, although that's not proven. And that's also equivalent to the spiral of the human helix, DNA helix. So that concept is really, really cool. The fact that this anime is very much about spirals being a real part of evolution of the universe, and it's a continuing spiral. And there's lots of things like going down the spiral, and the fact that it's a drill, so it's something that can it breaks things apart, but then you can rebuild. It's a very, very potent image that it's throughout the entire thing. So you know, it's a brilliant, brilliant concept just woven throughout. Even if it's a very over-the-top anime, there's some nice background stuff in the just plot that if you can look into the theory, it's very, very interesting, but if you're not really going to go into the theory, it's just a nice concept, it's a bit of magic. There's also a couple of other nice little things to do with fear of overpopulation, fear of entropy, and the concept of children and the younger generation really overpowering the older generation and really being a force of change, and the good and the bad parts of that. So overall it's a very over-the-top entertaining anime. Be prepared for mechas and craziness and just everything getting bigger all the time to the point that your mind could be slightly blown. But it's a nice, I like the ending. I think it's very grounding, and it's a real hero's journey for all the characters. And that's my review. Feel free to do the normal things, comments and anything else you want to do, and I will see you guys all very soon. Bye guys!